yeah. There we go. Plugged in. Lift this up. Kind of figured out that having this mic to the side works better for me because I can kind of flip it versus just having it one position. So to extend into I'm just going to call it folk soul self-defense. Okay. And I apply some techniques of Bruce Lee to that. And let's see. What do I got? Now. Oh, yes. Ready. Okay. We're ready. I'm going to read this. Nobody's here. I'm waiting. Into a soul, absolutely free from thoughts and emotion. Even the tiger finds no room to insert its fierce claws. One and the same breeze passes over the pines on the mountain and the oak trees in the valley. And why do they give different notes? No thinking, no reflecting, perfect emptiness. Yet therein something moves, following its own course. The eyes see it, but no hands can take hold of it. The moon in the stream, clouds and mists, they are mid-air transformations. Above them, eternally shine the sun and the moon. Victory is for the one, even before the combat, who has no thought of himself, abiding in the no-mindedness of the great origin. So I could apply that to the folk soul as the universal origin for my spiritual family of folk soul light. That's how I view it. So that was from this book right here, Tao of Jeet Kune Do. That's Way of the Intercepting Fist. And I've studied Taoism to a degree for, based more on that than say Buddhism. But you see the principles of like a Shaolin monk, and that means young forest monk. So in that way, they would be attuned to nature. And so at the heart of every tribal soul, that is the core. That's the primordial core of your people. Okay. Let's see. I'll read like the first cover page. The martial arts, including boxing, okay, are based upon understanding, hard work, and a total comprehension of skills. Power training and the use of force are easy, but total comprehension of all of the skills of the martial arts is very difficult to achieve. I also want to note that the martial arts form that Bruce Lee practiced was created by a woman, because you had to be able to fight possibly somebody larger than you. That means you got to be smarter, you got to be smoother, you got to see things ahead of time. Okay. To understand, you must study all of natural movement in all living things. Naturally, you can understand the martial arts of others. You can study the timing and the weaknesses. Just knowing these two elements will give you the capacity to knock him down rather easily. The heart of the martial arts is in understanding techniques. This is the next section. You must learn that they contain a lot of condensed movement, This may look quite awkward. When you start to learn it, you will find that it is awkward to you. That is because a good technique includes quick changes, great variety and speed. Also note, Bruce Lee was known for his footwork. He was the cha-cha champion of Hong Kong. It may be a system of reversals, much like a concept of polarities of good and evil, or negative and positive, right? Creative, destructive. In the speed of events, which one is really in charge? Do they change places with lightning speed? The Chinese believe so. To put the heart of the martial arts in your own heart and have it be a part of you means total comprehension and the use of freestyle. That means improvisation. How do I act online? Do you see me putting improvisation before what I'm doing? Because that is what I'm doing. When you have that, you will know that there are no limits. Okay. Next, precautions on physical techniques. Some martial arts are very popular, real crowd pleasers, but they look good, have smooth techniques. But beware. Now, remember what I said about Mr. Slick Talk with the mountain of gold versus true-hearted man who's not rich, but he's got a mountain of folk soul. That's like chi flow, got it? And the slick talk guy will not want that dude around because he will not lie or deceive. Where that is the slick talk method is deception, which is a large part of war. Anyway, they are like a wine that has been watered. A diluted wine is not a real wine. See, delusion. What did I say about folk soul potency? If your intention is not pure, then your folk soul is weak. That has nothing to do with physical size, does it? Nope. It's how you live your life. So, hence, not a good wine. Hardly the genuine article. So push comes to shove, Mr. Fancy gets his ass whooped because he is not centered and rooted and grounded in base principles. Therefore, you will be knocked over because you have no earth element. Some martial arts don't look so good, but you know that they have a kick, a tang, a genuine taste. They are like olives. The taste may be strong and bittersweet. The flavor lasts. You cultivate a taste for them. No one ever developed a taste for diluted wine. I might disagree with that. You got a taste for something that did not have potency. And that became spirituality to you, but you never experienced true potency, so you don't know. Where I have, and I've had to work hard for it, and I still have to work hard for it, and I continue to make mistakes, but that is life. Okay, here we go. Acquired talent and natural talent. This goes to the core of everything I was talking about. And I haven't picked this book up in a while or read this page, but I was guided to it. Okay. Acquired talent and natural talent. Some people are born with good physiques. Now, Bruce Lee was sick when he was younger, and because he was part European, the Chinese would not teach him. They discriminated, because of the English infiltrating through the East Indian Company into China and bringing in opium, which was not there before, to addict the people and then put them into debt and take over. That's what happened. That's your MI6, in my opinion, of course. Absorbing a martial art is like the experience of Taoism. The feeling for it comes from the heart. You have the dedication to get what you know you need. When it becomes a part of you, you know you have it. You succeed at it. You may never fully understand all of it, but you keep at it. And as you progress, you know the true nature of the simple way. See, that's base principle. If you know base principle, you can't be deceived. It's, you could have a blind spot. You may join a temple or a kwoon, whatever that is, Kwoon. You observe nature's simple way. You experience a life you never had before. Let's see. So this is by his wife, Linda Lee, who hence remarried some high-level corporate guy. Now, his sister's still alive, Shannon. But you notice something. After The Crow, shortly after, she was in Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. In 1993, the same year that Brandon Lee died on set of The Crow. And The Crow was very paganistic. If you really, really look at it. Now, also remember that Brandon had Swedish bloodlines as well through his mother and English, and who knows what else was in there. But Bruce also had some European lines. And so I remember a sign I saw in one of his movies. I think it was Return of the Dragon. It said, no dogs allowed, and then it also said something, no Chinese allowed. So Bruce eventually jumped up and shattered the wooden sign. You see? So I'm going to talk about this for a minute, because it's a big deal. People, and this is why I started saying certain things about the different brain structure and everything, is I see people attacking based on gender and ethnicity and making assumptions about people based on that, rather than looking at the base merit of an individual and what their intentions are. Their philosophy is related to that, yes, right? But what is the intention? You see, with Bruce and in a fight, you're basing intention on physical movement. Shit talking doesn't mean much. It's what is the action? What are they going to physically do to you? That's how men think. At least if you're a regular straight male, that's how it is. Where, maybe a woman would approach it differently. Okay, so in Enter the Dragon, there is a scene where Han, who has a private island, he's evil, whatever, he had these private fights to the death. Okay, so his men had come in from that island, and they were on the coast or whatever, and she's running along the coast because they come up to her and her father, who's very old. And they start messing with her, trying to touch her, grab her, whatever. And her dad eventually says, screw that. And he pulls out a pocket knife and cuts, whatever, this big dude, this big white guy that was going after her. It wasn't just her, the other Chinese guys too. So it was a mixed bag, good and evil on both sides. And then it doesn't, whatever. Different backgrounds of people. So he reaches up, slashes the guy in the face. Later on, you see him with that scar when there's a flashback. Now, the father never told Bruce's character how his sister died because it was so painful. So, no, she didn't get raped. She did not. What happened was, after that, her father got knocked down. She bolted. They chased her into a broken down warehouse. Okay. And then all those bad guys surrounded her. And there are quite a few of them, at least 10 or something. So she's in the middle, surrounded. And she had made a choice. Now they broke through the windows. So there's broken glass on the ground. and she's sitting there facing them. So rather than being dishonored, she picked up a piece of broken glass, stared up at the guy that had been slashed on the face, because she knew it would be gang rape. And so she grabbed that glass and stabbed herself in the stomach and killed herself rather than being raped. Wow. And you see, when you go to the island, you find out Han has been drugging women and using them for prostitution. Now, flash forward, you have Epstein, whatever, that dude, Jeffrey Epstein, he went down, right? Oh, he ended up dead. Now, I know. So Bill Clinton was on the plane. This is all common knowledge as far as what's been spread around, whatever. And Trump has an association. So you're like, huh? So you see, the high level guys, just like Vegas, everything is available for sale. And that's where the offense comes in. It's like, where do you say, cut the line and say, no, that is not for sale, right? Now, a prostitute who willfully engages in that, that's her decision. But a virtuous woman, such as Bruce Lee's sister's character was, she doesn't deserve to have her free will infringed, and that is the point. And so the number one advice, if you are a woman, is to watch body language and proximity to you. Can they physically do anything? Verbal indicators, yes, right? Emotional, intuition. Let's see. Moving forward. Gets into Zen, art of the soul. Let's see. The formless form. Let's do with Taoism. 8 basic defense positions. See, there are martial arts where it's like a compass. Now imagine that your heart is your captain. That's where you steer from. You think it's up here, but no, it's here. So keeping your base primal emotions in balance, not becoming a cold robot. That's not what I'm saying. Being centered. And that's your heart's flame. The pure intention of what your center is. Now, if you gain potency within your heart center, you can protect it. But if you are constantly spinning in circles and distracted, you will be easily manipulated. Now, here is another book that I picked up. Roots of Chinese Qigong. Now look at the guy in the front. What were our people doing by the trees? Trees absorb sunlight. They're rooted. Why would he meditate by a tree? To root into the earth. So, let's see. About Dr. Yang Ming. Let's see, he was born August 11th, 1946 in Zhengzhou, Xi'an, Taiwan. He started his Gong Fu training at the age of 15 under Shaolin White Crane Bahi Master Cheng Gin Sao. Now you notice the Chinese have kept their folk culture. Holy shit. And their culture is old. Now imagine we had avoided wars and we were capable of doing that. But now China has a rating system where if you get a low social score, you can't travel. Okay. Let's see. In his 13 years of study between 1961 and 1974, So that would be up until a year after Bruce Lee died in 1973. See, under Master Shang, Dr. Yang became an expert in the white crane style of Chinese martial arts, which includes both the use of bare hands and of various weapons. Now, I want to also make something clear that the women were equally trained, if not more deadly. You might walk in and see a bunch of women sitting around the emperor, and you're thinking, oh, yeah, the little women. No, deadly accurate with darts and kill from a distance shit. Not to mention they know all your vital areas, and they know how to use energy. It's like being surrounded by a bunch of witches. That's who he's protected by. Got it? And they know how to channel their energy. Okay. The root of Chinese Qigong. Secrets for health, longevity, and enlightenment. The heart, upper burner fire. And the kidney, lower burner water. Why? Water is passing through your kidneys, right? Also your liver. So different organs would be associated with different elements. Keep each other in check and are dependent upon one another. That's right. So they're going to want to split those two apart to create disruption in your energy field. And if you don't know about energy centers and chi and how that works, I had a feeling, yeah, and you're being played with. Yeah, that's why you got to develop a higher level of consciousness. Take responsibility for your own energy and how you feel. The spirit of the heart and the essence of the kidneys cooperate in establishing and maintaining human consciousness. Why would they target your heart? What about the brain of your heart? Like I said, the seed root. That's their goal, is to disrupt that. Let me do it. Anyway, it goes through here. So I'm just going to kind of briefly look for something interesting to talk about. And then I'll move on to something else. But I've been thinking about covering this book for a while because there was another master I found that was reported to have lived 250 years and lived in China. And I do believe this guy had like something about brainwashing tendon something or other. But I think it was the same author. Let's see. Let's look in the index and see if that is here. But meditation is very important, in my opinion, for spiritual development, learning mental, emotional balance and control. Extremely important. Now, if you also notice, Kung Fu is based on animal movements. Every region probably would have advanced in somehow that way, in that they were tuning into nature again, like the energy system of the earth, if you want to think about it like the soul of the earth or the heart of the mountain. Okay, like Battle of the Five Armies, where whoever holds that, it imbues this power. But what had happened was Oakenshield got sick, and he got, dragon sickness, because the dragon had cursed the gold. He coveted the gold. He had to have it. Now that's an example. He doesn't love anyone. He only enjoys controlling power. That is the opposite of folk soul. Total. Now, Oakenshield is a good example of what happens when you are not in tune with your heart. He allowed negative emotions to dominate what he was doing. Therefore, he became a danger to the rest of his folk. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So being aware that energy can affect things. Right. So I left some things out of the experience, the trip I was experiencing. But look at that. Look. I'm getting it up close. Boom. See? What is that? That is his folk soul. Now, remember what I said about the planet of the vulvas. I was not joking. Those beings were so powerful that I saw that there is nothing, no technology that we have would touch that at all. You know, and even if they took the sun and blasted whatever, they are made of pure energy consciousness. They would only absorb it. Of course, that's my opinion. But that's the highest level. And that's a whoa moment. Let's see. Go into 5. Magical weapons and warriors. 125 to 166. But I really feel like my whole life has prepared me for this. And I am so grateful that my dad, and I keep saying it because it makes me feel good, that he was folkish to the core. And I go, why the hell am I so different? Like, nobody understands where I'm coming from because they've gotten so far away from base root principle, they don't recognize it and look at it as being silly. But being loving and true is silly. Okay, go hang out with the weasels. You can have your worm tongues. I'll pass. Let's see. Legend. Oh, here we go. Back up. Magical weapons and warriors. I'll show you the page because it's a cool script. Ooh, yeah. This is one of my dad's books, so it's special to me. He was the one that made sure that he emphasized that King Arthur was of Welsh origin. Huh? Well, and obviously Merlin. How do you know it's not a combination of the same person? Right? Like a philosopher king or a druid king or bard king or somebody like that. Kind of similar to like how Robin Hood would be. Okay? Because you always have music associated with Robin Hood in the woods, right? Man of the green wood. That's our archetype. That's who I am. Period. Let's see. Legend and archaeology. Oh, wow. So this is actually in the original Welsh. Look on this side where my finger is. Oops, can't see it. Anyway, it's in the original Welsh, at least anglicized Welsh. Okay. There were 3 famous Caernarfon knights in King Arthur's court. That is, Cynon, that's Cynon, the Fawn of Clydno Idin, something, or Edinburgh. So you notice that has a Welsh root. Interesting. Aaron, the Fawn of Kinvark, and Lewark Hen. So this is what I was talking about with Lou. Lou is associated with the Welsh. What the hell is this Lucifer association? That's retarded. That's how I feel. Like, I know it sounds, I'm just not into that shit. You know, I start seeing Latin, I just see red and go, no, that's not original. That's, you know, it isn't. In my opinion, Eladir, Ledonwyn, and the Thief 3, so it's got some old English, were Arthur's clown fellers. Let's see. To Advive, him in to advise. Okay, I see, because an F is an S. Okay, got it. Him in whatever difficulty happened, for that nobody was able to overcome him, and thus author, let's see, mastered all men in every exploit, and in all nations through the power of the strong spirit and the faith and hope which were in his heart. See? But they overlay that with the church. That's the heart's flame. That's the intention of you towards your people and connection to the sovereignty of the land. In my opinion, of course. And so you would be consecrated, but they added some, Christian bullshit. They stole our folkish virtues, they overlaid them on their Christian shit, and then took our shit. And that's how it is. In my opinion, of course. On that account, wore 12 crowns, and he was, considered an emperor in Rome. So that is a right over. Again. Now also consider, I've heard the theory of the zodiac being associated, right, with the Knights of the Round Table, 12 knights round, and then the 13th astrological symbol in the center, usually the sun. And there are other constellations, but in general, there's Ophiuchus or something, the serpent bearer. That's number 13. So that would make the sun 14, whatever. Or the central mechanism that it transfers around. And then how many moon cycles do you have in a given cycle? And that tells you what the original calendar would have been, right? Versus modern overlay. Legend and archaeology. While we are attempting to draw a picture of a historical Arthur and his warriors, it should not be forgotten that their enduring fascination lies in traditional or legendary elements. Arthur, a 5th, 6th century warlord or king. Now, what did I say about my dad? He researched my family all the way back to that time period. 500 AD. Whoa. Okay. But through time, stories change. You see the Roman overwrite on everything. All right? The Britons would have been a tribe. So then it becomes like a brand. I am this. But it has nothing to do with the original language. Okay? Let's see. Oh, yes. Now, this is what I'm going to get into. Getting into the Welsh. Early British traditions. Celtic traditions are found not only in Geoffrey of Monmouth, but in certain earlier chroniclers, and various Welsh, Irish, Scottish, and Breton texts, such as genealogies, hero tales, and later collections of legends, such as the famous Mabinogion, containing a number of important references to Arthur and his warriors. Yet another source of genuine tradition, but difficult to prove, is the embroidery and embellishment of later chronicles, amplifying the tales of Arthur or of the knights. I would also note changing the story. Or the prophet Merlin. Despite the quite inaccurate medieval dressing that has been applied, many literary versions of Arthurian legend retain remarkably ancient lore. There's your pagan folk soul. In all cases, however, Discretion must be supported by the various streams of evidence available. That's what I'm saying. Before moving on to deal in detail with both weapons and warriors, from tradition and archaeology, we should consider the special relationship between man and weapon, which is clearly stated in Arthurian legend. A relationship, here we go, which derives from an ancient, unenduring, heroic, pagan world view. Bam. Gauntlet drop. Baseline drop. It is quite different to the modern attitude that weapons are hardware and nothing else. Here comes the animism, and gives us several remarkable insights into the historical Arthur. Also, Lu's sword, the answerer, the sword of truth. And that has always been a part of me, naturally gravitating to me. And I know why now, is because of my father. And just imbuing that in me, like it is infused into me. 100%. Before moving on to deal in detail with both weapons and warriors, I'm starting again right here, tradition and archaeology, we should consider the special relationship between man and weapon, which is clearly stated in Arthurian legend. Relationship which derives, I'm reading it again, on purpose, from an ancient and enduring heroic pagan worldview. Folks, so it is quite different to the modern attitude that weapons are hardware and nothing else. Let's see. There is a difficult and dangerous borderline between the magic and poetry of weapons clearly stated in Celtic tradition, and the spurious nonsense of nationalist propaganda regarding death, glory, war, and honor. Interesting they put that in there. I'm just reading what they wrote in here. Well, I like the other statement, but I wouldn't say that is not nonsense, but it could be misguided, manipulated, or directed. Much of the Arthurian legend has become corrupted. This I will agree with because he added, by false politics, relying on concepts. Let's see. Here's some of them. I'm going to show you a picture of the weapons. Celtic spearheads, arrows, and bolts from Newstead, Roxborough. Bronze Celtic sword from Cowgill, Lanarkshire. Male fragment with decorated boss from Romania. So that'd be down here. If you can see it. Anyway. Okay. Moving on over here, which may have been alien to the historical Arthur and his people. In Celtic tradition and many other heroic traditions worldwide, the king, his warriors, and their weapons take on a magical, poetical aura. Folk soul. This is not merely a romantic quirk of imagination. Historians or propagandists, chroniclers, it is central to the type of culture to which Arthur belonged. This is a big deal to me, can you tell? The relationship between a weapon and a hero, for all of Arthur's legendary warriors were heroes, no matter how they behaved in history, is essentially a magical matter. They were enchanted. Examples of this magic are now world famous. Only Arthur, the true king, that's having a true heart. What did I say? That's because he was true-hearted. That is the only reason he could pull the sword from the stone. Only the true king could pull the sword from the stone. And although, just like the Leophale stone will sing out for the true king, same concept. And the fact that it was stuck into a stone, direct sovereignty link, IO. Stone is round. The sword represents the male principle. The stone represents the female principle. Inserted in the stone, masculine and feminine in unity. Sovereignty of the land, imbued, symbolic, and literal. Although this theme has been used repeatedly in fiction, and that was me adding to what was written, it has a root in fact, as we shall shortly demonstrate. It also has a deeper root, here we go, love it, in primal myth. And this is what my dad was reading. This is what he liked. Everything he had was folkish. Seriously. Okay. Primal myth, extending far beyond mere militaristic totemism. He's attacking the Roman principle overlay, just like I did, because it's offensive to me. That is not my people. In many ancient cultures, the king was not merely the toughest bandit or biggest property owner. He was the wisest, or she, the queen, as is often assumed by materialist historians, though the theory is frequently borne out by historical fact. The land over which this king ruled was held in trust for the people. Folk, heart, flame. A system perpetuated by the Irish kings well into historical times. That's Brehon law. This ancient system has strong echoes in the Arthurian legends. I'd say that connects back into the Welsh system as well. Yet on the surface does not seem to apply to the historical image of Arthur as a Romano-British warlord, because that's not who he was. That's the overwrite. Nevertheless, we must always fuse tradition and factual history when we consider Arthur, and it is very likely that the symbolic elements of kingship were, if not active, lying dormant near to the surface of the British consciousness, so increasingly independent after the Roman withdrawal of the early 5th century. Bam. Wow. So here's the next. I'm going to just show you the picture. This is titled Kingship. See a little bit. It's kind of bright right now. And some different embroidery patterns, different designs, simple drawings, but okay. Let's see. To demonstrate that this relationship of chieftainship or kingship and the land was of enduring nature. There's your sovereignty of the land, right? Sovereignty goddess, connection. We need only turn to the 18th century Scotland. Clan chieftains or lairds enclosed vast tracts of land to which they held English-style title based on Roman laws of property. Yet, their Gaelic-speaking illiterate clansmen, to whom, I would say oral tradition, to whom the chieftain was a father figure, had always assumed that the land was held in common trust, belongs to the folk soul of the people. They discovered in the hardest possible way by losing their homes and all rights to remain upon the land, that their ancient traditional concept, which dated, here we go. This makes me shake just reading about it. Perhaps to a pre-Christian Celtic culture. Bam. Pre-Christian Celtic culture. One more time. Pre-Christian Celtic culture. And they said it was no longer valid. Some modern historians have made the mistake of equating this ancient family land relationship with communism or even Marxism by deliberately ignoring the blatantly magical traditional elements which hold it together, folk soul elements. We find precisely these elements in the figure of Arthur, and they appear even in some of the earliest sources or in the later sources, such as the Mabinogion. I would love to see a woman address this. Go through it. She knows who she is. The Mabinogion, which draw, and then I'm saying point out what might be corruption. Discuss it. Start thinking about it. Not just accept it as what is. Dissect it. That's what I'm saying. That's how my brain works. Mabinogion, which draw upon early themes and ancient oral traditions. Now, who translated it? Two priests. Override. Possible. Just saying, unless they were like covert druids or something and they infiltrated the church, I don't know. The weapons and attributes of the king are reflected in a lesser and more specialized manner by the individual heroes. These also have a curious relationship. Ooh, here we go. Piggy, piggy, piggy. Oh, I'm coming. Just kidding. Okay, sorry. To environmental matters in some cases clearly show magical attributes of the most ancient type or become involved in mythical stories such as Gawain and the Green Knight. Green Knight, Green Man, Robin Hood, Green Knight, retold in this book as the beheading game. So now you remember when I told you that I was touring as a squire, right? And I have my back to the ropes and it's cutting of the cabbage. So they put the cabbage on top of my helm that had a flat top. The knight writes down the list. He's supposed to slow down and get closest to it. The first knight I had did not do that. The second one did. And so the Black Knight is writing down the list, and those are the 3 ropes and the 2 lanes. And this guy has excellent vision, is good with weapons. He can double-handed whips and knock a cherry off a cigarette. I mean, that accurate. And excellent sword, stunt man, whatever. He'd done some work in Hollywood or whatever. Something like, I think he did a bit part on Pirates of the Caribbean. And no, wait, that was another dude I met, a young dude. He actually did the sword play. Johnny Depp didn't. So anyway. He hit me in the side of the head so hard that I pinched a nerve in my neck. Scared me, so I was done. I'm like, you just put my life at risk, because that's a lot of trust. Back to the rope, horse riding down the list. So his excuse was, I couldn't see. But if you look at the story, what is the Black Knight about? Evil, right? It's the color of his armor. He had spray painted it black. Anyway, here we go. Black is generally associated with death, right? Decay. The beheading game. It is clear that no matter what we discover about the historical Arthur and his warriors, they have absorbed images, tales, symbols, and mythical potency from traditions, which may predate their historical appearance. Now, how do you get to base root principles? Start looking at virtues, look at symbology, multiple meanings. The chalice, or the grail would be an example of that. What is that? That is the goddess, the circle that is round, that encompasses and holds forth. Now the stem would be the masculine principle. So there's your I-O again. What did BobCat notice quite a few people missed? Basic shit. How long have I been ignored? Not everyone, just saying. The question is not one of proof of Arthur, for this surely exists sufficiently, but of the reasons for this mythical, magical accumulation. Here we go. Woo, it's getting bright. Oh, shit. I almost got blinded by the sun shining on me again. As opposed, and I was just thinking of something. When I was a little kid, I remember seeing this picture of myself, and I had really blonde hair and the golden hue to it. And I just saw myself sitting on my grandmother's lap, kind of squinting a little bit from the sunlight. And I was looking at how it lit my hair up, and I was like, whoa. And because I'm so fair skinned, I almost look like I'm glowing, Anyway, I've always had to be careful of the sun for that reason. But having thinner skin, right? A redhead has the thinnest skin of all humans. Then blondes. That's why we're more sensitive to shit. Okay? Just saying. There's less density for the light to go through. Why? Because we adapted to where we lived. Okay? Makes sense? As a post-Roman war leader, the historical Arthur would have been familiar with Roman-style culture in Britain. He probably would have been fighting them, right? He followed directly from Ambrosius, who in history presents as an altogether more Romanized figure. But I also think about certain royals having their children forced to serve in the military. Well, what's that? You could brainwash those kids before they even have a chance to grow up and imprint on their true culture. Overwrite again. Celtic traditions and early texts from Wales, Scotland, Brittany, or Cornwall have numerous references to Arthur. See, and that's where I would like to see Robin Hood covered like this, King Arthur covered like this, and Merlin. Get those major archetypes, because this is getting left in the dirt. Okay? Now, I'm going to pause because something else is on my mind. I was looking around online, and I saw some very negative things written about somebody who is a friend of mine last year, 2019. On the Wiki Rational site. To me, what I read in that article is defamation of character and liable to be sued. That's how I feel. Now, actually pursuing that and winning, that's something else. But that is defamation of character. And that is the first thing they do before they get rid of your ass. And that's how I feel. So holding honor is very, very important. I got to move back. I can't see shit. Damn. Woo. Okay. Anyway, I read that article, and I would highly suggest that person goes over there and eviscerates that goddamn article. I'm not going to do it, but I read it, and there's some bullshit in there. You hear? You need to address that. Man, these people are nasty. I looked at that. I'm like, what the hell? So you are creating a propaganda article, so similar to this, about a certain king, and then overriding, or queen or person, and stating this is who they are. So the person that doesn't know you is frightened and stirred away. Why? Because now you're seen as a problem, right? And if what they wrote about you is not accurate, or let's say maybe you've changed your viewpoints, I am not listed under alt-right. You hear? You hear what I just said. I am an individual. I am into folk culture. We, as a group, as a folk, as a tribe, are not about being racist. We are about loving what we are and not walking around hating ourselves. How about that? That happened to me. I started to feel that way, right? Absorbing that. But I want to discuss something else. You have your direct tribe, right? And then you have the friends you've chosen. And they are part of an extended tribe, but maybe not direct bloodline, but they are true-hearted. That makes them tribe. Did you hear what I said? If they are not true-hearted, they will turn on you. Now, they are not direct family link, but they are friendlies versus aggressive, nasty, deceptive scumbags. And like, how many fires can you put out? Well, people talking shit in forums you can't control. But if they've made a permanent article about you saying you are this, then I'm the type of person where I would debate that article. And I would read that bitch live and I would rip it to shreds. What else can I do? I don't even need to sue them. But that is defamation. I'd be pretty upset if somebody made some fake article about me, trashing my character, and then left it on the internet. That's been sitting on the internet since September 2019. You hear? And I'm not the only one reading it. I would address it because that's going to steer people away from you. That is why that was done. Of course, that is my opinion. I'm going to raise my chair up to get out of the sun. There we go. Oh, better. I can move closer. I wanted to address that. You notice that I am rolling out all these things I've noticed and then pointing them out. And then I am stating what? That I love my friends. And if I see somebody writing bad shit about my friend, I'm going to tell them. So that's the only such article I have found about that individual. And she knows who she is. So I'll just say she. Could that put me in the crosshairs? Yup. Just by associating with certain people, it does. So that is why true-heartedness is so important. All those virtues that people seem to be missing is the difference between life and death. And that is because life became easier and easier and more convenient, and you turned into a complacent moo cow, mentally speaking. I'm not talking about physical, whatever. And so I don't give a shit if a woman is fat, old, whatever. If she has a true heart, she is beautiful. End of goddamn statement. But that's me. I'm not superficial like that. Physical beauty is physical beauty, yes. But who do you want to exist in all eternity with? An asshole that looks good? I don't think so. Saw you on the wind. I know it's an override overlay. You get to the core of the truth now. I don't accept your lies. Well, my tribe and family, oh, yeah, theft of our culture, an override of our language. They killed all the kings and queens that were wise. Women of the woodland rise. Wise woman on the way. I can feel it in the wind. They sent me here from Outland. I'm a ranger in the woodland, queen of pain. Deep down, right over lay, root down the folk soul, immunize adaptation, and a freestyle improvisation. Improvise vision undertow, deep dive, folks all the way. He's on the way. I only accept the true-hearted in the flame of love, and love's flame. True-hearted all the way. Folks so shine on, deep down from heart and soul. Goddess of sovereignty, blessed land. Deep down I know that the true queen of the land, and the true king shall return, oh, triple by three. Sovereignty of the land, oh, and the water to the sea, oceans wide. Set sail, oh, set sail. So anyway, I recognize by speaking the way I am, I put myself at risk. By associating with certain people, I put myself at a tactical risk. However, the more we correct our behavior and address whatever those conflicts are and defuse them, not start more fires, and then get into the root core of what will stabilize the situation. Anything else is being distracted from base principle. And anytime you do that, you will have conflict and disharmony. So what brings harmony? Recognizing what the problem is and taking action to the challenge to obtain the goal. That is to resolve the issue. And that is a continuous cycle. And what cycle would you like to be in? Creation or destruction? That's it. Arthur's warriors in tradition are not merely muscle-bound hackers and cutters or the remnant of a Roman cavalry unit. Oh shit, here we go. Down the rabbit hole. They have accumulated magical weapons and mythical attributes. The lists and descriptions shown in this chapter derive from some very clear early sources and leave no doubt as to the quite un-Roman nature of Arthur. The Welsh. And his men in the popular imagination and oral tradition. That's where you get back to root. the oral tradition. It's where it all started from. Power of the word to manifest and affect reality. Web of word. Curiously, this magical accumulation is not found in connection with other important persons around the Arthurian period. He hated Vortigern, who invited Saxons into Britain, called Vortigern of the Repulsive Lips by early Welsh chroniclers, and the Roman-style war leader Ambrosius do not merit legendary powers or traditional development. As immediate predecessors of Arthur, with traditional associations with Merlin, we might expect these characters also to be infused with mythical elements, but this is not so. We may also add that quite significant early figures in British history, such as Julius Caesar or Claudius, are hardly mentioned by the tradition, let alone gifted with the powers of shape-changing or magical weaponry. Arthur and his warriors may have been identified at a very early stage in their organization with national mythical tales, folk soul, from heroic culture far predating the 5th and 6th century, predating. Why should this be so? Because the historical author was the first truly British warlord after the Roman collapse. So they wanted to make it more friendly. So they fused, just like Gallo-Romano-Gallo or Gallo-Romano language, whatever. Same overlay horse shit until the old language is gone. Right? Okay. British warlord after the Roman collapse. And the ancient identification, folk soul. Ancient identification of king and land, far deeper than superficial modern political nationalism, was reinstated in his figure. I mean, look at how they're dressed. The torques, right? The long trousers, right? The Scythians were known for that. Or the Highlanders were known for wearing long trousers. Anyway, the prevalence of legendary matter in Arthurian lore has tended to convince historians, particularly pro-English chroniclers from the 12th to the 20th century, after 1066, Charlemagne, right overlay, that all or much of the Arthurian story is fanciful, and that is what they want you to think. So much overlay and confusion, you can't find what the original base principles are. Well, start picking out what the virtues are. What are the symbols, right? What is the etymology? What are the archetype, multiple meanings? Conversely, we must be cautious enough to not to take the opposite and extreme and value tradition over factual history. In the following pages, we examine some of the relationships between archaeology, tradition, and history, which reveal Arthur and his warriors. So I think I could continue on, but Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Okay, let's see. Despite the semi-breakdown in government in Britain, enough contact was maintained with the Roman forces in Gaul for the Romano, there's the right over, Britons, right? / Britons. No, to be aware of the latest developments in warfare and tactics. They had sufficient craftsmen and armorers. I'd also stop right there with Gaul. You see, they had something like 400 gold mines. All right. And Rome was running out of money. Too much expansion, too many wars. So they go and rob and start shit to continue starting more shit. So they literally went in there because they saw them dressed with fancy gold torques and metalworking and all this fancy shit. Bright colors. Their hair is plaited, just like described as Lou was described, right? And that would be like braided to become almost like an armor, right? You use everything you got. Okay. They also knew that a mobile force was essential. Even as early as the 4th century, the ratio of cavalry to foot soldier was 6 regiments of horse and 3 foot. So I'm not going to keep going with this because I'm kind of doing an overview. So we go more into all of that. I'm not going to get into that. Okay, the heroes. This is more my field. Oh, okay, a little bit on the Mabinogian, really? Okay, well, maybe that would be worth it. Let's see. The importance, of the stag in Celtic culture is shown by the ceremonial whetstone, W-H-E-T stone found at the Sutton Hoo, that's Suttonhoo, with the detailed enlarged, let's see, the Sutton Hoo standard 3rd century BC stag decorated from Asia Minor. Okay, whatever, but we'll show you. This almost looks like a vulva staff. Remember? Because they were known for carrying little staffs like that. So that would be associated into the torque. Now, also note, what is at the top of every single one of these staffs? A circle. I-O. What have I been saying? Tree and well. Tree, flame, and well. Folk soul. Okay. Now. Here we go. A witty smith, and his legs he covered with hose of steel. Caliburn, his sword, hung by his side. That was wrought in Avalon, with craft that was magic. Helm he set on head, of steel very high, and many gemstones on it, all set in gold. It had been Uther's, the noblest of kings. He hung on his neck a precious shield. Its name was in English, called Pridwen, or Pridwen, Pridwen. Therion was graven with red gold. Now you hear that a lot. Now remember, the color red and scarlet was not easy to come by. That's why the wealthy generally wore red or scarlet, and the common man generally wore green, brown, whatever, tan, beige. Tracing a very fair image of the Mother of God. Oh, you mean the goddess, the sovereignty goddess of the land? There is another overwrite in terminology. His spear he took then. Now that is translated by E.J.B. Kirtland. Kirtlan. In the 13th century story of Ronabee's dream from the Mabinogian, that name is spelled Rhonabwys. Further and more elaborate details of Arthur's war gear and possessions are offered, although it was not written down until the 13th century. See, there comes in another overwrite. All those overwrites after 1066. I'll bet you prior to that, you would have had more accurate folk stories. before the Christian and Roman overwrite. Here, Arthur's goods include several with magical properties, including his ring, which has the property, let's see, to enable thee to remember that thou seest tonight, and hast thou not seen the stone, thou wouldst never have been able to remember aught thereof. Mabinogion, guest, page 152. Arthur's sword is here described as having the similitude of two serpents upon it in gold. Now, holy shit. Driving the serpents out of Ireland. St. Patrick's Day, huh? Yeah. Override of the spring goddess, baby. We would have celebrated a lot longer for that. She was a big deal in our culture. Okay. So, the similitude of two serpents upon it in gold. Now, remember also that snakes were used to control pests. So they're not always bad, right? But also consider that connected to Kundalini energy and the two serpents running up the spine. That is why they target your crotch, because that's where your base element primordial energy is. Okay. And when the sword was drawn from its scabbard, it seemed as if two flames of fire burst forth from the jaws of the serpents. And then so wonderful was the sword that it was hard for anyone to look upon it. Let's see, IBID, page 155, IBID. So, connecting that, so I was guided to this. I had no idea this would be in here. But I'm relating it to Lou. And it is. So, LLEW, whatever. Okay. Another description deals with Arthur's chair. See, everything had an enchanted magical principle. Another description deals with Arthur's chair, a throne, which, it must be admitted, is fit for any king. It is brought by a large red youth who takes it from his pack, along with a carpet on which to place it. Color, and also the wood, I'm adding this, that the throne was made out of, would be symbolic, because wood is very ancient and symbolic. And he spread the carpet before Arthur, and there was an apple. Bam, the apple. Remember what I said? Cut it in half. The pentacle is right there. It's a star. Huh? Right next to seed and root. The oak tree, the pod, remember? The star and the spine pattern. Okay, was an apple of red gold at each corner thereof. And he placed the chair upon the carpet. And so large was the chair that 3 armed warriors might have sat therein. Gwen was the name of the carpet. Interesting. Feminine symbology, presence. Weaving, most likely. And it was one of its properties that whoever was upon it, no one could see him, and he could see everyone. Wow. Wasn't that kind of symbolic to like these supercomputers? Huh. Wonder. Clearly, the youth and his pack are both magical, and the operations of the ring and the carpet are to aid the memory and vision of their owner. And if we look at the ancient Welsh triads and in particular, at the list, here we go, of the 13 treasures of the island of Britain. Now remember what I said about the moon cycle, worshiping the goddess, and the round table being associated with astrological signs. The sun in the center, rotating. We find there amongst the magic cauldrons and wondrous steeds. And I would say they have like an archetype symbology where that circle could mean multiple things, like multiple cycles overlaid. And once you comprehended that, just by seeing that symbol, you would know what it meant in association. Okay. The mantle of Arthur in Cornwall. Let's see. Whoever was under it could not be seen, and he could see everyone. So there's the mantle of Arthur. Here, see, these may have been sacred symbols to the original kingdoms. And then they were taken and overlaid like prizes, just like the chalice. Just like women were taken and sold. That's right. White slavery. That include, Irish women, Scandinavian, whoever. They came in, they took over the land, they killed or enslaved the men and the children, and sold the women. Or used them for breeding to create more wars. Then they retrained those children they created, right? And gain more wealth power. But it's through destruction. That's it. Here there has been a confusion between the carpet and the mantle, which other sources describe as being named Gwen. Elsewhere in the Mabinogion, in the story of Colic, let's see, Culhwch, and Olwen, Arthur lists his prized possessions as including, here we go, note, ship. Now, ship has an occult meaning, right? Water, the law of money. Money runs on water, trade routes. The law of water. Or admiralty law. Stuff my dad knew about. Since he was a Navy guy, he knows for sure. My ship and my mountain and let's see, Dolk, I don't know. CALEDVWCALEDVWLCK. My sword. That's the name of the sword. So there's your answerer. And Rongoyont, my lance. There's your spear. Destiny. Lou of the long arm. And Win Bicthuker, my shield. And Karnwen my knife. So even the knife or the dagger had mystical properties. Everything you had a mystical or spiritual blessing or property upon it. Most likely it would include the sovereignty of the land, because that's what you're fighting for. It's the folk soul of your land. Lady Guest translates these names, here we go, as hard breaker for the sword, night gainsayer for the shield, and white hoft for the knife. Later translators have added cutting spear, what did I say, for the lance, but have not disagreed substantially with the Lady Guest. From the foregoing, it will be seen that in common with most great heroes, the warrior Arthur is equipped with a set of possessions which are archetypical of the gear owned by lesser men. Arthur's sword, spear, and shield, his ship, his mantle, and his ring are special, magical items which serve to protect and enhance his personal abilities or attributes. So then the next section here is heroes, but I kind of need to take a break from reading just for a second. But I thought that was interesting, and I really liked how that author debated and looked into, factual. He even gets into archetypal and multiple views, and I'm like, that, you're not going to agree with everything somebody writes. Okay, so this, I'm going to show you the picture. So again, see it up close and personal. You can see how old this is. This came out in the 90s. And as I said, up until the 90s and the 80s, you still see folk culture as a big deal. So this is original copy from 1987. Okay. And so I would have been, let's see, 11. Yep. That'd be about the time my dad started buying all those D&D books, and he had stuff like this, and he would give us folkish fantasy books, and also obviously The Hobbit, right? All of that. That was The Hobbit's like the near fantasy Bible or something. I don't know, but it's the standard, because how many authors of that rank and status write books anymore? Like master linguists. That's what our stories used to be. Like supreme, hardcore detail, multiple meanings. So what am I doing? Isn't it obvious? I'm an extension of that, doing my best. So those guys had to improvise and then relate it to life, right? That's where all this came from. Necessity. And then it became embellished. There's a message on the window. I can hear it in my heart and soul. Love forevermore. I guess I could dream of a true love forevermore. That I'll be waiting down by the riverside. I know the truth's out there. Well, the truth is self-existent. That's what my father said. That's what my father said. The truth just is. Oh, deep down, sacred is the harp which you strum. Mystical back to the edge of beyond time. Cycles and circles round. And the true king has a true queen. And the true queen and king have a true heart, a true love. Light of the folk soul. Deep down I know, way down the sun will be setting behind the mountains. Oh, and the light of sovereignty shines in a folk's soul. Deep down said, you know, heart's flame, oh, heart's flame. of a true love forevermore. True love forevermore. Way down I know, Father, in a folk soul forevermore, like a ray from the sun, shining in my heart and soul. I can hear you calling on the wind. Father, hold the flame up. Father, hold the flame. Hold the flame. Folk soul forevermore. The circle round, goddess of the land, sovereignty. Thank you. Circle round. Love my folk forever. Circle round.